Women are strange creatures. Often, if you encounter some rare specimens among them, not only will they eat and drink at your expense, but in the end, they'll take your money too. Xiaolei's quote, "The house I'm living in now isn't mine. It's someone else's. If I were to report it to the police to get the lock opened, they'd definitely require the owner to come forward. But it's so late now, it's inconvenient for me to contact the owner. And even if the police helped me open the door after breaking the lock, as a girl alone this late, I wouldn't be able to install a new lock. Security isn't great these days, and I'd be at home alone with a door that can't be locked." Lin Shanshan carefully explained her reasons, wearing a pitiful expression. "What about your parents?" Xiaolei frowned. "I don't have parents." Lin Shanshan's expression darkened as she replied flatly. "They both passed away when I was 13. I've been living alone ever since." Xiaolei nodded and didn't ask further. Her background was similar to his, though he at least had the old swindler to rely on, which was slightly better. "I'm sorry. I hate to trouble you. I know my reputation at school isn't good. You've probably heard about it, so you must not like me much." Lin Shanshan's face twitched slightly as she whispered, "If it's inconvenient for you, could you lend me some money? I'll find a hotel for the night. I'll pay you back." Xiaolei remained silent for a while before finally speaking calmly. "There's no extra bed at my place, but if you don't mind, you can sleep in my uncle's room tonight. He won't be back for a couple of days." With that, Xiaolei picked up the bowl from the table and walked into the kitchen. It was rare for him to do a good deed. Might as well accumulate some virtue. After all, he and Wu Daozi had pulled off plenty of scams over the years, so doing something decent now might offset some of the bad karma. Xiaolei consoled himself with this thought, but it didn't take long before he started regretting it. First, the weather was scorching, and since Xiaolei and Wu Daozi weren't exactly well off, they didn't have air conditioning at home. In such stifling heat, everyone dressed lightly indoors. Normally, since it was just two men, they could walk around in their underwear without a care. But today was different. There was a woman in the house now. Second, in this heat, one had to shower at night. But after showering, one needed clean clothes, right? Xiaolei's home had no women's clothing, so he could only offer Lin Shanshan a clean men's shirt. One could imagine, Lin Shanshan was, after all, a pretty girl. The kind that caught the eye of wealthy young men at school naturally had her assets. After all, no rich guy would spend money to keep a dinosaur, would he? Lin Shanshan's looks could score an 80, while her figure easily hit 90. Moreover, compared to girls her age, she had less of that youthful awkwardness and more of a mature, alluring charm. That night, after a shower, Lin Shanshan emerged wearing an oversized shirt, revealing a pair of smooth, straight legs that made Xiaolei's heart skip several beats. Her damp hair, flushed cheeks from the steam, and dewy eyes only accentuated her allure. Xiaolei could only retreat to his room. Feeling a certain part of his body reacting beyond his control, he sat on the bed with a bitter smile, silently reciting his master's name in his mind. But less than 5 minutes after sitting down, he heard a scream from Lin Shanshan next door. A scream filled with sheer terror and fright. Without a second thought, Xiaolei sprang up and rushed into the neighboring room. What greeted him was a scene that nearly made his nose bleed. Lin Shanshan, almost completely naked, was frantically stomping on Wu Daozi's bed. Her smooth, pale body bounced under the dim light, looking utterly tantalizing. To make matters worse, the only thing covering her was a pink thong. As she stomped in panic, the two perky mounds on her chest trembled wildly. Though it was just a fleeting glimpse, Xiaolei's vision far surpassed that of an ordinary person, allowing him to take in every inch of Lin Shanshan's figure, especially her toned calves, her flat stomach, and her slender waist, devoid of even a hint of excess fat. Their eyes met, and Lin Shanshan let out another shriek, leaping to the other side of the bed like lightning before crouching down and hastily wrapping herself in a bedsheet. Xiaolei coughed twice and forced a wry smile. "What are you screaming for, princess?" Lin Shanshan pointed at the corner, her voice trembling. "A mouse, there's a mouse." Xiaolei glanced at the corner, where a gray-furred mouse was indeed crouching, though it seemed just as terrified. shivering uncontrollably. Clearly, the woman's scream had scared the poor little thing half to death. Xiao Lei sighed in relief and casually walked over, picking up the mouse by its tail. "Oh, this is my neighbor, Eve. Don't worry, she's a female, definitely won't sexually harass you." Lin Shanshan's eyes widened. "You keep this as a pet?" "A pet? Not exactly. It's just that with two bachelors in the house, things get a bit messy. Having a mouse or two isn't that strange. But since my uncle's a Taoist practitioner, he believes in sparing lives, so we just let her stay." Lin Shanshan stared nervously at the mouse in Xiao Lei's hand. Only when he reached the doorway did she stammer, "You? No need for you, me. Relax. Only Eve likes sneaking into my uncle's room. Her husband, Adam, sticks to the kitchen. Just keep your doors shut at night, and you'll be fine." "Adam, Eve?" Lin Shanshan felt like fainting. Still shaken, she whispered, Then are there any other neighbors in your house?" "Huh, like cockroaches or something." Lin Shanshan looked at him nervously, her face full of pitiful dread. "You mean Little Strong?" "Of course not," Xiao Lei declared proudly before adding with utmost seriousness. "Our Adam and Eve are very clean. Ever since they moved in, we haven't had any of those pests." Lin Shanshan froze in place, completely stiff. At this point, Xiao Lei cleared his throat softly, his gaze subtly drifting toward Lin Shanshan's chest. The bedsheet seemed a tad too small, and in her haste, she hadn't noticed that certain crucial areas remained exposed. Though the room was dimly lit, Xiao Lei's sharp eyes could clearly make out the left butt of her breast, half bare, along with its rosy peak. Lin Shanshan let out a scream and quickly wrapped herself up. By the time she raised her head again, Xiao Lei had already turned and walked out of the room, closing the door behind him. After tossing the rat Eve back into the kitchen, Xiao Lei returned to his room and silently recited a calming mantra in his mind. Yet the image of that nearly naked, uninhibited figure kept haunting him. He let out a bitter laugh and muttered under his breath, "Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. Damn it. When a naked woman stands right in front of you, even a monk would struggle to stay unmoved. Huh, I'm a disciple of Zhuge. What am I doing reciting Buddhist scriptures?" With that, he pulled the blanket over his head, cursed a couple more times, and drifted into a fitful sleep. Akasangurabu. The next day was Saturday, a day off. What does a day off mean? For most office workers and students, the greatest significance of a day off is getting to sleep in luxuriously in the morning. No need to worry about being penalized for being late. No need to stress about missing the subway or bus. No need to endure the gloomy faces of bosses or teachers. And best of all, no need to hear that Godawful, ear-piercing alarm clock in the morning. So Xiao Lei slept soundly and blissfully, especially after being tormented by that tantalizing vision late into the night. He was now deeply immersed in slumber. Whether his dreams included some rosy content remained unknown. In any case, when our protagonist finally woke up, a trail of drool still clung to the corner of his mouth. At 10 o'clock, Xiao Lei pushed open his bedroom door and stepped out. The neighboring room was already empty, its door wide open, and Lin Shanshan was nowhere to be seen. Wu Daozi's originally chaotic, pigsty-like room had been tidied up meticulously. The dirty floor had clearly been swept, and the bed sheets were neatly folded. The pile of dirty clothes on the living room sofa was gone, all washed and hung on the balcony, including that suspicious pair of underwear. Even the sink full of dirty dishes in the kitchen had been cleaned and neatly placed in the cabinets. The trash bin was empty too. Huh, did I not bring Lin Shanshan home last night, but a fairy tale housekeeper instead? Xiao Lei scratched his head and sighed. Well, whatever. At least she's gone now. One less problem to deal with. But she does seem considerate. She even helped with the chores. But then Xiao Lei spotted a note on the table, and his good mood vanished instantly. On the paper were several lines of rather delicate handwriting. Xiao Lei, thank you for taking me in last night. And thank you for your help. I know most people at school look down on me, but you didn't discriminate against me. I'll definitely repay you someday. Though everyone says you're cold, I know you're a good person. At least last night, you helped me without making any unreasonable demands. I've tidied up the house for you. The clothes are hung on the balcony, and breakfast is ready in the microwave. Lastly, I'm really sorry to say this. Apart from the few dozen yuan you lent me last night, I have no money left, and I urgently need some these next couple of days. So, I took 2,000 yuan from your drawer. I hope you can forgive me. I promise I'll pay you back. Damn it all to hell. Xiao Lei cursed under his breath and opened the drawer. Sure enough, the 5,000 yuan Wu Daozi had left behind was now just 3,000. Damn it, being nice really doesn't pay. I gave her food and a place to sleep, and now I'm out 2,000 bucks. And all she did was clean the room and make breakfast. That's worth 2,000. Even a 5-star hotel doesn't charge that much. After cursing for a while, Xiao Lei let out a long sigh. Guess I'll have to confront her at school on Monday. But on second thought, it seems that although she genuinely appeared to be short on money, she wasn't a thoroughly greedy and wicked woman. She didn't take all 5,000 yuan left by Wu Daozi. Otherwise, I'd have been left penniless these past few days.